FanDuel Punch Out. I'm Jason Gilbo, J Gilbo 11. With me is Russell Clay at Russell J Clay, taking a look at a 5-game slate here on FanDuel. Coors game involved, but first things first, we just need to revisit a little situation from last night.
No, we don't.
I
What are you
mean,
talking about?
how does Scott Kazmir fare? I mean,
Who's Scott Kazmir?
exactly. You forgot
I
already.
don't I don't recognize that name.
Is he a running back of some sort?
Scott
Is he a NASCAR
um
driver?
Scott John Scott I can't think of any Scotts right now. Dennis Scott? Um Scott Skiles? Like I'm just going mid 90s NBA. That's the only Scotts I know.
Well, Scott Kazmir, I
So,
mean, he labored through 3 innings against the
yeah.
Padres and threw about 85 pitches before he just said, I can't do this anymore.
He grabbed his lunch pail, and he went to work, and then he opened his lunch pail and remembered he made a sandwich and left it on the table
And went back home and never
at
came
home.
back.
Yeah. So, so sometimes in life, the cookie crumbles and then you just got to clean it up instead of eating it. So that was last night for me and Scotty Pippen. That
Yeah,
was more mid 90s names.
yeah, Scotty doesn't know.
Hmm.
Cubs and Pirates here. John Lester versus Chad Cool, and obviously looking more so at the Cubs side of things. I mean, over a 4.5 run total there projected. I don't mind these bats as a swerve. I mean, obviously there's still top price guys like Bryant and Rizzo that are in play. I really like Contreras at that 2.7 price tag still. I mean, obviously we usually play him
Yes.
against lefties, but cool. I mean, it's giving me nothing to show that I want to stay away from. So for me, I like Contreras there. I mean, 2,700 catcher hitting cleanup doesn't really get much better than that as far as the lineup spot goes.
Yeah, and we talked about Jason Hayward on DK there. I think that's a pretty decent flyer in a tournament at 2.7. It's really cheap. Lefty versus righty. Obviously, some splits going back to 2014 would lead you to believe this is a good matchup for Hayward. So rough start to the year, but I think this is a decent spot for him to, exploit.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking 8, 9 game slate, maybe we look at some other options. But I mean, track record
Yeah.
considered here, I'm definitely in agreement at that price tag that Hayward's in a decent spot to do some damage and decent matchup. I mean, you know, let's be honest. I mean, the back end of the Cubs order is much different from anywhere else. I mean, you're going to be in RBI situations regardless of where you are
Yeah.
in that lineup, just because of how deep they go.
Right. And on the Pirates, worse worse pricing than DK, probably just a straight avoid for me.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I mean, we talked DK, the Pirates being contrarian bets to maybe mix into cores. Here, they're not quite cheap enough, just because
Yeah.
really you have the Dodgers at very similar prices who are in a much better matchup to do something against. So for me, I'm in agreement. I can't really see using any of these guys at their prices. I mean, um, I I'm trying to make a case I can at these prices. I just like far better options here. So definitely a site dependent team.
Yeah, for sure.
We got the Nationals and Mets here, and a couple different price tags for some of these Nationals guys. I mean, obviously, we can kind of gloss over the Mets.
Phew.
Yeah,
This is give it to me, baby. Much different scenario than the Nationals. Very or on DK, they were really priced up. Even the cheaper guys, the Revere, Clint Robinson, Rendon, they're all much more expensive. I don't know what went on here with the Daniel Murphy 3,200 price, but that's cash game. Fire him in there, quality.
yeah,
So yeah, I'm in on this stack for sure.
yeah. I mean, you look looking for. I mean, has been serviceable at times, but I mean, both mediocre stuff at best. 40% hard ball rate to lefties. Righties have hit him at a 415 Woba rate there, 2.66 homers per nine. Small sample size just because he's a spot starter, which he might be making a few more starts given Matt Harvey done, given Syndergaard has a little bit of soreness, given Matt's. That team is just, God, I've never seen a team fall apart like quite like they have as far as the injury bug goes, and especially pitching. I mean, if you get drafted by the Mets as a pitcher, you might as well just forego Tommy John right before you get in.
God, and I love that staff too. Mats and Syndergaard's really solid combination. But yeah, as you mentioned, spot start here. I think we're firing away with Nationals. Even the Clint Robinson at min price, I think that's a really nice value as well.
Yeah, I definitely don't hate that move. And as you mentioned, Murphy at 3-2 certainly intriguing. And Harper, I mean, definitely a high price pivot from some of those chorus bats too.
Yeah.
So definitely friendly Nationals prices. I definitely don't mind them. Padres and Dodgers next one here. Luis Perdomo versus Brandon McCarthy. Dodgers prices are once again very cheap, and in 1 through 7, even 1 through 8 for me, definitely playable. I think a repeat performance is certainly a line here.
There for a 5 game slate, there's going to be some really high scores. It's pretty soft, honestly. So I mean, you look at Justin Turner 2,900. You compare him with Daniel Murphy and get out of there for 6,100 total. You're looking at Corey Seager 34. I mean, I don't see. You're just firing those guys in there, you know.
Yeah, I mean they're a great mixing team with chorus and with some decent mid range value. And Perdomo, I mean 405 Woba to lefties this year, 2.33 home runs per nine. I mean not good when you're facing Corey Seager, Chase Utley. And I
No.
know Adrian Gonzalez hasn't been really the same this year, but still at his value price tag worth a look.
Yeah.
And even righties, I mean, 400 Woba this season, so he's been hit.
Howie Kendrick 2,500. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you got Puig. I mean, if he's in the middle of that lineup again, I will definitely take a shot given he is pretty close to mid price at 2,300.
All right, you can. I'm gonna let you dive into that one on your own. Like I pretended to jump. Yeah, let's jump in the pool. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then you get really excited and you jump in, and I don't. So
That's a 5 game slate. That's a hard price to pass up on Puig. I mean, I know
no,
his
I
struggles,
agree.
but it's a
I
great
agree.
spot for him.
It is. That's a nice punt. Definitely a good call there.
So, Padres side of things, for me, Will Myers is still priced entirely cheap. I mean, with his go, I mean, 3,400. He's probably the only name I would probably take a shot on against McCarthy at. I know some of these other guys are cheap, but for me, Padres kind of fall behind a lot of these teams.
Yeah, especially with these reduced prices for the Dodgers and Nationals, I don't see much need to jump on the Padres tonight.
No, definitely not. So, next one here, you got Coors and the Phillies prices. I mean, for me, I don't like Tyler Anderson really on FanDuel, but I do like him on DK as a deep GPP option. And for me, I still can't get behind these right-handed bats. They're a little too expensive, just given the prices of the Nationals, Dodgers, and even some of these Coors guys. Phillies aren't really on my radar for a team that ranks dead last in WOBA against lefties, and they haven't done a ton of production in Coors to start this series.
Yeah, yeah. There's just no need. We already picked out some great values, and I mean, if you want to fire off a Tommy Joseph, I'm not gonna say that's a bad play or a Michael Franco, but they are overpriced. You are kind of taking a gamble there at avoiding some solid spots for those positions.
Yeah, I mean, there's been much more. I know the course factor is still going to bump those guys up a little bit, and as they should. I mean, there is they do have upside. For me, I just like the process of playing some of those other guys who have been much more consistent, and
Mm,
I don't usually tend to play teams that rank dead last in WOBA against lefties, even in course. So for me, sure, the Phillies might go off. Is it worth a stack? Sure, but for me, I don't see myself playing it just personally.
yeah, I
So.
don't. Yeah.
The Rockies, though, I mean, they're expensive, but definitely worth it. And Blackman and Carter are kind of my priority. Obviously, Arenado at 4.8 is expensive, but definitely worth it. Story not quite up there, but still 3.8. I think those are the kind of the four that I'm definitely looking at there.
Yeah, so fire in Murphy, Seager, Turner, and then the lefty outfilders here and win.
Yeah,
It's
I
basically the
mean,
strategy I'm seeing.
yeah, I mean that just sounds like a Bachman Turner overdrive. I mean, the line you're plugging in.
Honestly, though, I mean that's a pretty decent combination. Obviously, you have to pay up for the outfielders here, but I definitely think it's worth it on this slate.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're rolling GPPs, obviously you're probably looking at a Brandon McCarthy at 7.9, so you're going to have some room to do some stuff with as far as hitters go.
Hmm.
So, last game tonight here, you got the Twins and the Rangers, Ricky Nolasco versus Kyle Loesch, and we were talking on both sides. This is a great spot for both teams and a great game to
Yeah.
swerve to. And talking about the Twins, I mean, we go to Kyle Loesch last season, 365 Woba to lefties, 3 points, 361 Woba to righties. you know, this guy was dreadful. I mean, as a starter, 6.31 ERA last year, a ton of home runs out of him, gave up 29.
Right.
So you're
And the
looking at the
Twins,
Twins.
the Twins are going to be much more contrarian here, I think, because of those cheap prices. I don't think as many people are going to be diving into that because I mean Sano over 4K, Nunez over 4K. I think that's going to be less popular here. So that might be something I'm interested in if you're building multiple lineups for sure.
I I would not be surprised if people jumped on the Twins. Actually,
You think? All
I
right, let's do a mock um, ownership percentage here.
okay, yeah. I mean, so we can talk
Nunez,
Sano.
Nunez, Sano, over under 20% in tournaments.
Okay, definitely. Okay, they're definitely going to be under. I do think that 10 to 15 range is probably going to be about right for most of those
Okay.
guys. But a guy like Kepler, a guy like Grossman at those prices, I think maybe we'll see 15 to 20,
Mm,
22, 23, maybe, just because
right.
of those price tags. But yeah, I do think of Sano. I mean, given he's 4.2, he's still cheaper than the Coors outfielders. So I do think he's the pivot to probably make there. Um,
Hmm.
I don't think it's going to be 5 to 8 for any of those guys.
Okay.
Maybe a
Yeah, and
Mauer,
that
maybe a
that
Mauer
makes
at three
sense.
five. Maybe Mauer's probably the lowest owned guy, I think, just because he's 3.5
Yeah.
and he's at a position that there's a couple other guys you're probably looking at.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. So again, if you can get him at 10 to 15, that's still a decent
Yeah,
swerve to make. But yeah, 5 gamer, tough to get really lower than that in a good offense.
yeah, definitely. So as far as Texas goes, I mean, I love Renato Dor. I mean, 2.9, that's a great price tag for him. And
Yeah.
as I mentioned, I mean, you have Fielder, you have Gonzalez. Um, you know,
Mazzara obviously heading down because he's not hitting as well, but I mean, I think he's always got that power upside there for 3K.
yeah, I mean, you look Chu and Desmond. I mean, those are your most expensive options. Then you go 3 through 7 there: Odor, Beltre, Fielder, Andrus, Mazzara. They're all
Mm.
relatively cheap. And against Alaska, who struggles against both sides, they're certainly playable. And in that ballpark, I'm expecting a ton of production on both sides.
Yeah, definitely agree there. I think if it's kind of like Chu and Desmond, I think that's a combination. You don't really play them as standalones. I don't think. I think if you're going with an offense, you kind of pick that offense tonight, and hope to maximize in tournament lineups. But yeah, those two I'm looking at as a little deeper tournament lineups for me.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Odor and Fielder are probably going to be my more popular standalone
Mhm.
plays. Beltre is kind of leading off for me just because I like Turner a little bit more here, but obviously Beltre is in play hitting clean up there against Alaska. A
Yeah.
big 5.5 projected rental. I think obviously he's certainly in play. But once again, I kind of like last night. It was just I was so locked in on Turner as far as putting him in, and it's gonna be the same thing tonight for me.
Yeah, I have to agree with that one.
Good. That's going
Uh,
to wrap things up here with the FanDuel Punch Out. Be sure to check out DaveFantasyCafe.com for all the great tools and content.